Listen to me carefully. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you success. Nobody is going to pick you up when you're down, and nobody is going to care about your excuses. The world doesn't stop when you're tired, when you're broke, when you're lost. It keeps moving. And the brutal truth, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're sad. Nobody cares if you failed. Nobody cares if you've been through pain. Life doesn't hand out rewards for suffering. It only rewards results. You sit there thinking people will understand, people will feel sorry for you, that somehow sympathy will change your life. It won't. You can cry all night, complain all day, and scream about how unfair life is. And yet tomorrow the sun will rise, the world will move on, and you'll still be stuck in the same place unless you decide to do something. The only answer is work. The only solution is discipline. When you finally understand that no one cares, that's when you'll unlock your power. That's when you'll stop waiting and start grinding. The world respects results, not stories. Nobody cares. Work harder. You wake up every day with thoughts running through your head, wondering if people notice your effort, if they respect your struggle, if they even care about what you're trying to do with your life. You crave that little nod of approval, that like on your post, that word of encouragement from someone close to you, and when it doesn't come, you feel empty. This cycle is a trap, because the more you chase validation, the more power you give to others over your life. You're essentially handing them the keys to your destiny and waiting for their permission to move forward. The truth is, most people are too busy dealing with their own battles to stop and clap for you. Their approval doesn't change your reality. What changes your reality is what you execute, the actions you take consistently without waiting for anyone's applause. Every second you waste scrolling, waiting for likes, waiting for comments, waiting for someone to notice, you're letting time slip away. Validation is addictive. It gives you a tiny dopamine hit, but it's empty and temporary. It does not build wealth. It does not build strength. It does not build legacy. The real power comes when you learn to work in silence, when you create, when you build, when you execute relentlessly regardless of who's watching. Success doesn't ask for validation, it demands results, and results come only when you put your head down and focus. If you live for recognition, you will die in disappointment. If you live for execution, you will rise through discipline. Stop performing for the crowd and start performing for your future. People often think that validation is proof of progress, but it's not. You can get 1,000 compliments and still be broke, weak, or lost. Compliments don't pay bills. Likes don't build businesses. Claps don't change your body, don't transform your mind, don't shape your reality. Execution is the only real evidence of growth. When you wake up early and hit the gym, that's execution. When you sit at your desk for hours working on your craft, that's execution. When you choose discipline over comfort, that's execution. Validation is external, but execution is internal. It's something you control, something nobody can take away from you. Stop letting your worth be measured by other people's attention. The only measurement that matters is how much work you put in today compared to yesterday. The harsh reality is people don't care as much as you think they do. They'll praise you when it's easy, they'll disappear when it's tough, and they'll return when you succeed. That's how human nature works. If you depend on them for motivation, you'll never have enough fuel to finish the race. You need to build a system inside you that thrives on progress, not praise. Progress is what will give you confidence. Progress is what will keep you alive when the world goes silent. Execution creates undeniable results, and results speak louder than any validation you could beg for. If you want to silence the critics, if you want to shut down the doubters, you don't argue with them, you don't beg for their support, you simply work and execute until the results cannot be ignored. Validation will slow you down because it makes you perform for others instead of for yourself. You start changing your goals to fit people's opinions, adjusting your path to please those who don't even understand your vision. You water down your potential just so others can clap for you. That's a dangerous way to live because your life becomes controlled by outside voices instead of your inner conviction. Execution requires focus, and focus requires the courage to ignore the noise. When you truly focus, you build in silence, and you let your work speak for itself. No validation is as powerful as undeniable execution. People may doubt you, laugh at you, ignore you, but once they see the work manifest into results, they can't deny it. Validation is cheap because it costs nothing for someone to give it to you. A quick compliment, a click of a button, a meaningless cheer, it doesn't require sacrifice from them, but it keeps you chained because you're feeding off their attention instead of feeding off your own hunger. Execution, on the other hand, demands sacrifice. It demands sleepless nights, sweat, pain, discomfort, and persistence. But unlike validation, it gives back tenfold. Execution compounds into skill, skill compounds into opportunities, and opportunities compound into success. Every day you spend waiting for validation, you're postponing your growth. But every day you execute, even in silence, even in obscurity, you're planting seeds that will one day grow into results, so massive they cannot be ignored. Stop letting the world's applause dictate your self-worth. The world will not clap for you when you're grinding, but it will bow when you've won. That's the paradox you must accept. Waiting for support is weakness, and chasing validation is slavery. Strength comes when you learn to work without needing the spotlight. Strength comes when you learn to love the grind itself, not the attention it brings. Execution is the bridge between your dreams and your reality. Every rep you do in the gym, every page you write, every call you make, every strategy you plan, it all adds up. Validation doesn't add up. It disappears the moment the crowd moves on, but execution stacks, brick by brick, until you've built an empire. The question is, will you keep chasing the crowd, or will you start building your empire in silence? Motivation feels good. It's exciting, it's powerful. It's that spark that makes you jump out of bed ready to conquer the world. But the problem with motivation is that it disappears as quickly as it comes. One bad day, one moment of weakness, one setback, and motivation evaporates like smoke. If your entire life is built on being motivated, you'll live in cycles of highs and lows, constantly chasing inspiration instead of building consistency. Discipline is different. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline doesn't ask if you're inspired. Discipline simply demands that you show up day after day, no matter the mood, no matter the weather, no matter the circumstances. Motivation is emotion. Discipline is action. When the excitement fades and the world feels heavy, only discipline will carry you forward, because discipline isn't about feelings. It's about decisions and commitments that never change. Think about it. How many times have you been motivated to start something new? You set goals, make plans, and feel unstoppable for a week, maybe two. Then the feeling fades, the excitement dies, and suddenly you're skipping workouts, procrastinating, and telling yourself you'll start again next Monday. Motivation gave you the spark, but it couldn't sustain you. This is why so many people never reach their full potential. They depend on feelings instead of systems. Discipline is the system. It's the structure that doesn't care whether you're tired, bored, or uninspired. Discipline says you go to the gym anyway. Discipline says you study anyway. Discipline says you execute anyway. You don't wait to feel like it. You just do it. That's the difference between people who dream and people who achieve. Motivation is like fuel that burns fast and leaves you stranded when the tank runs out. Discipline is like a battery that charges slowly but keeps running endlessly as long as you keep feeding it. The disciplined person doesn't waste time waiting for motivation because they know feelings are unreliable. They build habits so strong that the action becomes automatic. Wake up, execute, repeat. Over time, discipline rewires your brain to stop arguing with itself. The disciplined mind doesn't ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" It simply asks what needs to be done. That shift is everything, because feelings are temporary, but commitments are permanent. The more disciplined you are, the less power your moods have over your destiny. That's freedom, and that's how true winners are made. When you look at champions in any field, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, they're not always motivated. In fact, many days they're exhausted, overwhelmed, and tempted to quit. But they don't quit because discipline doesn't allow them to. Discipline is the voice that drags you out of bed at 5 a.m. M. Discipline is the strength that makes you keep running when your legs are burning. Discipline is the focus that keeps you working late when everyone else is partying. People see the glory, the trophies, the results, and they think it's motivation. They're wrong, it's discipline. Champions are built in the unseen hours when nobody is cheering, when nobody is watching, when there's no applause, only pain and repetition. That's the invisible force of discipline that motivation can never replace. The problem with motivation is that it makes you dependent on the right environment. You want the music, the hype, the perfect conditions, the right mindset. If those things aren't there, your drive collapses. Discipline eliminates the need for perfect conditions because it thrives in imperfection. Rain or shine, tired or awake, happy or sad, discipline doesn't adjust, it just executes. That's why disciplined people achieve what motivated people only dream about. They don't stop when it's inconvenient. They don't wait for inspiration to strike. They move regardless of circumstances, and that momentum compounds. A disciplined person will always outlast a motivated one, because they're not slaves to fleeting emotions. They're masters of consistency, and consistency is what creates greatness. Motivation is cheap because it costs nothing to feel inspired for a moment. You can watch a video, read a quote, or listen to a speech and feel like you're ready to conquer the world. But what happens after the video ends? What happens when reality hits? Most people go back to their old habits because the fire they felt wasn't backed by discipline. Discipline is expensive. It requires sacrifice, patience, and repetition. It requires you to put in work even when you're uninspired, even when nobody is clapping, even when you'd rather quit. But because discipline is expensive, it's valuable. Few people pay that price, which is why few people achieve extraordinary results. Discipline is rare, and that's why it's powerful. The truth is, discipline creates freedom, while motivation creates dependence. Motivation makes you dependent on external triggers to feel strong, but discipline makes you self-reliant. When you are disciplined, you don't wait for opportunities. You create them. You don't beg for support. You build regardless. You don't stop when things get uncomfortable. You keep moving because your habits are stronger than your doubts. That's how you win. Discipline may feel harsh in the beginning, but over time it becomes your best friend, your greatest weapon, your shield against weakness. The person who lives by discipline doesn't fear failure because they know they will always get back up. They don't fear challenges because they know they will keep pushing no matter how hard it gets. Motivation is fragile. Discipline is unbreakable. At the end of the day, the truth is simple. Nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody cares about your struggles. Nobody cares about your pain. The world only respects results, and results come from execution fueled by discipline. Validation will never build your dreams, and motivation will never sustain your grind. You must stop living for approval and start living for progress. Every second you spend chasing recognition is a second stolen from your growth. Discipline is what separates the weak from the strong, the average from the exceptional, the dreamers from the achievers. It's about showing up when nobody is watching, putting in the work when nobody is clapping, and building yourself into someone so unshakable that the world has no choice but to acknowledge your results. Success is never given. It is earned brick by brick through relentless execution and unbreakable discipline. That's the standard. That's the way forward. So when you feel tired, when you feel ignored, when you feel like nobody cares, remember that's your greatest advantage. Nobody cares, which means you are free to outwork everyone, free to prove yourself, free to rise above the noise. Work harder, be disciplined, and the results will speak for you louder than words ever could. Thank you for your time, thank you for listening, and may this message burn inside you until you act on it. God bless you, stay strong, and never stop working, because nobody cares. Work harder.